Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Here's the newest addition to the Luso Overland fleet. It's a 98 SR Mitsubishi Montero, and I'm going to show you everything about it because there's a lot to go over. So I've been meaning to get this video out for a long time now. You might have seen that video that I'll put in the description where I bought this thing sight unseen and then took a Greyhound bus to Kingman to meet the seller, and he came in from Vegas. That's where this vehicle was from. And yeah, and then road tripped it home and everything went fine on that drive. It drives really nicely, even though it's got like 260,000 miles on it, but it drives really nicely. So the name of the game with this 98 is bolt-on accessories. There's a lot bolted onto this vehicle. And see, the previous owner, he was a Filipino, and so he wanted this Gen 2.5, we call them colloquially here in the United States. He wanted this to look like a Pajero that they would have in the Philippines, and so that's what he was going for. So let me start with the exterior. You can see that it's dirty right now because it's been parked outside for like 2 months. I've been waiting to do this video, but it's been repainted, so that's cool. It's the factory color. He was going to change the color, but then with everything involved with having to do, you know, the door jambs and everything, he just decided, all right, let's just repaint it in a new coat with the factory color. This is the black sea green pearl, and I love this color. It's one of my favorite colors that came on the Gen 2.5, the 98 to 2000 Monteros. It looks black in the shade, it looks green in the sun, it's got this metallic pearl in it. It's just a really cool color. After the repainting, you can see that he's got the Field Master badge that he added on the fender, because that's like the upper level trim that they have in the Philippines, so kind of like our SR trim in the US. And then he's got the side marker lights instead of the Montero emblem. Switch those out. He pulled off the cladding, and like the fake cladding as well, that sticker, and instead put on a different sticker that says Pajero on it, like kind of faint. Really cool. I actually really like it. But you can see it's a sticker. Really neat. This is for the CB. And then we've got these aux beam ditch lights, and they're running on, looks like Nylite universal ditch light mounts on the side of the hood. And it seems to be working fine. Like, they clear. They're not really interfering with anything. So, aux beam ditch lights, CB antenna. And then up here we have a different brand. I don't know what they are. Looks like it has a V for a logo or something on there. So we got these bumper lights. Then he's got Rigid Industries in the fog light housings. So that's cool. Those are some high quality lights. And then that might look at first glance like a normal grill, but it's not. That is a Filipino grill that he bought in the Philippines and brought over. The gaps in the grill are larger, so it's a little bit different. Looks a little bit more aggressive than what we got. Okay, coming around, we got a snorkel. We got these decals here to again replicate what these things look like in the Philippines. Coming back around, we switched out the reverse lights for some brighter night lights. We got the bolt-on tow hitch. Looks like we got a homemade sticker, looks like, for there. Backup camera. And then the last kind of Bolt-on mod on the outside is this CVT awning. So a lot of stuff bolted onto the outside, so quite a bit of wind noise on this rig, more so than normal on something this old with old weather stripping. So now let's talk about the tires and suspension. So this is the one thing that I've done since I got this vehicle. I've literally done nothing with it for, I think, like 2 months now. I've driven it a handful of times to work, but the first thing that I did is I took the tires that it came with. I took them right off because I needed them for my 2005 for Yoshi. This vehicle came with brand new Toyo AT3s in 285/70/17, which is the same tire size that I run on my 05 Montero, and that's like my main off-roading rig. And so I kind of saw this as, not only am I getting a cool Gem 2.5, but I'm also getting like a free set of tires, 5 brand new tires, so that's a big value. So what I did is I switched the tires that are on Yoshi with these. What I had on my 05 were these BFG KO2s. You can see they're getting down there. It's like 6:30 seconds. So I threw them on here, and they're fine because I'm not going to put a ton of miles on this. You know, I bought it. I should tell you why I bought it. I bought it to be the test vehicle over at Luso Overland. So whenever we get in like prototypes or samples, like, we always try things out. So that's what this vehicle will be for Gen 2 and Gen 2.5 parts. It'll take the place of the 1994 Montero Cochise. That thing is going to get parted out. So let's take a look here. We have got these aftermarket wheels. I think they're 17/9 if I had to guess, and they're like a kind of like a fake bead lock. And then we've got these manual locking hubs, but I don't know the brand. I don't think they're the AVM ones. Yeah, I don't know. So that's on there. We've got wheel spacers, as you can see, bolt-on wheel spacers that are pushing this wheel out a solid inch away from the hub, to help the stance out a little bit. The same thing could have been accomplished with running a wheel with a different offset, which I would feel a lot more comfortable with than running wheel spacers of unknown origin or quality. We've got Ironman 4x4 complete 1.5-inch lift kit on here. So that's new torsion bars, new coil springs in the rear, and the foam cell shocks. Here's the spare tire, and it's on an FJ Cruiser OEM wheel. It's got the aftermarket wheel lock on there. And the mods don't stop. You can see we have the ADD transmission skid plate under here as well. Inside the engine bay, we'll find some more modifications. If we look down, he's replaced the factory horns. And then if we get down even further, we've got air horns, like semi-truck air horns. So that's fun. And then maybe some silicone vacuum hoses in a few spots over there. Let's take a look at the interior. So you can see, you know, some wear on the original leather door panels, as you would expect with this age. It's got some seat covers on here. Got a light switch there. That's for the ditch lights. This one that's fallen down was for the bumper off-road lights. And then the air horn, this is in a bad place for me. It is right on the kick panel by the right knee. So I accidentally hit that sometimes when I'm driving with my right knee. Coming up here, we've got a phone mount. We've got like an aftermarket gyro. Switched out to a doubled in with a reverse camera. CB is right there. Okay, we got some floor mats, just like some AutoZone ones. And again, of course, this is the SR, so we have the coveted orange sticker and RD lock button, so the rear air locker from the factory. Here's the second row. These seat covers have like MOLLE panels on the back, but they're in good shape. The leather on these rear seats. And in the rear, you can see it still has the original third row seats. Well, I got one down, I got one folded up. Still has the factory toolkit with everything in there. Or maybe one thing, maybe one little tiny thing, like an Allen key or something maybe. Really cool. And then you can see this wire coming all the way across. And we've got those lights suction cupped to the back door, chase lights. Let me turn those on for you. So it's, you know, it's really bright right now, so it's kind of hard to see them. But they're just like flashing through the back window. And another reason why it's really hard to see them is because this thing is super tinted. This entire vehicle has a really dark tint around it. Honestly, it looks really good, but it's really hard to drive at night in this thing. You can see how the chase lights plug in. It's just a long wire that plugs in wherever you have a 12 volt, so it just runs up to the front of the car. It looks really good, but the problem is I live in a dark sky city, so we don't have like street lights, and so we already have like pitch black at night, and then you get this tint, and like it's so hard to see out the back window at night in this thing. So I'm not going to do anything about it because I don't really plan on driving this car that much. Like if I put 1,000 miles on it a year, I'll be surprised. But yeah, it is dark. Oh, and of course I also forgot about this. He's got the well window visors on here. That's also something that's super popular in foreign markets. So here's the CB. It also is not hardwired in, much like the chase lights. You just plug it in into the cigarette lighter when you want to use it. And now this vehicle, it was in the guy's family for a long time. I think he mentioned that it used to be his dad's and it got handed down to him. But I mean, check this thing out. It's even got the drawer underneath, and we've got our owner's manual. We've got tons of original paperwork, like the new owner guide and these little quick start manuals. It's even got the original window sticker, and check out this booklet. I've never seen this before, but this is obviously like an original sales brochure. Check that out. Monument Valley, just a couple hours away from where I'm at right now. Really cool. JBL speakers in the doors, upgraded to LED bulbs throughout the interior as well. Okay, so that's the mod list. That's the overall general condition. You're looking at a repainted 260,000 mile rust-free from Nevada Gen 2.5, a beautiful 98 Montero. So with, you know, a long and proud ownership history and tons of bolt-on modifications. You know, they definitely loved this vehicle. And now it's time for me to show you the quirks and the problems and the things that are going to keep me busy. And there's quite a lot on this vehicle, I'll be honest. But the good news is, again, a rust-free vehicle. Doesn't look like there's any real leaks underneath. Underneath is pretty dry. And it drove, 2 hours on the I-40 to get here without any problems. And most of the issues are small things. I don't think they're major things. So let's start in the engine bay, because that's where I'll probably be spending most of my time. All of these aftermarket accessories, all of these lights and comms and things like that, the wiring leaves something to be desired. We've got relays just chilling, fuses, a billion things hooked up to the battery, like wire kind of loosely wrapped around the screws, terminals that are too big for where they're attached, so they're kind of loose, wires wrapped together, then covered in electrical tape without a connector. We've got just so many wires that it's hard to even, it was hard when I was on the first video. I couldn't get the coolant cap off because there was like wires running around in here. The ditch lights, you can see the wire's a little bit too big for the gap, but it's getting pinched, and you can see some exposed wiring in there. So yeah, there's just wiring going everywhere to all of these things. Yeah, and it varies in how it was done. Like you can see this one, just 2 wires wrapped together with not even electrical tape. Then we've got a ground wrapped around there, exposed with no terminal. There's, I feel like all of the wiring I need to redo, which I'm not looking forward to because I really don't like doing electrical work. Like it's definitely not my forte. And as a result, we have a battery that's only 2 years old, not even 2 years old. And we must have, I think, a parasitic drop, because every time I come out to use this vehicle, even if it's only been like about 2 days since using it, it's dead. In fact, I have to jump it right now to get out of the forest. So I'm always having to jump this thing, and I'm betting that it's probably a parasitic draw from something going on here. It could, because I mean the battery's only like a year and a half old, so I just feel like it's probably not the battery. It's a good quality battery. It's an AGM like Superstar Platinum. So I feel like there's probably a parasitic draw somewhere in there. From what, there's a multitude of suspects. It's like Clue. I think it was the ditch lights in the kitchen with the pinch. And then inside, you may have noticed this, you might remember this from the video of when I brought this thing home. The very first problem that I noticed, like when I went to the DMV and went to lock up, these door locks do nothing. So you have to lock every door individually and unlock it individually, like by hand. So that could also be where the draw or the problem is, if there's some kind of like actuator or wire somewhere in the door lock system. Or it could be completely unrelated. And then you can see like that switch Velcro isn't holding up. I gotta move that because I don't want to hit the air horn when I'm driving accidentally. This thing needs to be adjusted so it stays up. There's just like a lot of little things, you know, like these light bulbs in here are loose and they don't work when you're driving. They're like rattling around. This mount is like barely on there with some double-sided tape. So there's just like a lot of little tiny things, which that kind of stuff I don't really mind doing. That glove box latch doesn't really work that great. I gotta probably switch that out. That's easy. We carry those at Luso. So lots of little tiny things like that. In fact, I started making a list of things that I saw that just don't work, and most of it is really tiny. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will tell you the big ones outside of all these little cosmetic and minor details, and that is, of course, the parasitic drain. That's number one that I got to get fixed, because, you know, having to jump it every time I want to use this vehicle is not fun. Number two is the stance / ride quality. The front is definitely at least an inch, maybe more higher. Those torsion bars are cranked up too high, and it's a very uncomfortable ride. So I need to bring the front end down, and that'll improve everything. That'll improve handling, braking, and ride quality. I also need to delete the factory alarm system. It just makes life difficult sometimes, especially when you have to jump your vehicle all the time. A couple things to point out. You can, here's the siren for your factory alarm. You can see that I have unplugged mine because I got tired of that going off. And then when you're trying to jump it and it's not letting you because of the immobilizer, you can hold down this button and then start the car. Or before you hook up your battery terminals, get the key into the on position before you hook up your jump box. Just put it in on, and that will kind of disable the immobilizer, and you won't need to push that red button in there when you crank it, and now you can hook up your jumper and it'll work. Next thing I need to investigate is engine oil. You might have noticed that we had a little bit of, on that previous video when I bought it, some unusual like silver stuff hiding in the top of that oil fill neck. And I don't know if it was like some kind of additive, like a zinc, or if it was something more scary, like some kind of like stop leak product or something. So I gotta drain the oil and send it off to Blackstone to get an analysis. And the same thing goes with the cooling system. There's some gross stuff in the reservoir, so I gotta maybe do like a coolant flush, and we'll see what's going on there. It drove perfectly fine and on temperature, so I'm not really worried about the cooling system very much, unless it's tied to possibly like a head gasket, but I don't have any symptoms of that other than residue we saw in the cap of something silver, and then in here it looks a little slimy, but I think that's more from these hoses on the inside keep falling down and like dissolving in like the coolant. So I'm not super expecting that. The cruise control does not work, so that's that box right there. So we'll need to investigate that further, see if it's a fuse, see if it's a brake light switch, or something in the box. I'm not really sure. I've never had to mess with cruise control on these vehicles before in terms of a repair. And lastly, when it comes to the major mechanical things that I need to work on, it has the classic sloppy shifters. So the transmission shifter is very easy. There's two little bushings. I've got a separate video on that where it shows you how to take apart this whole console and how to replace those bushings. They're very cheap bushings. We sell them like new OEM ones at lusooverland.com. And we also have the replacement fulcrum ball that is at the base of the transfer case lever. If you've got a really sloppy transfer case lever and it won't go into whatever drive mode you're selecting, like this one has a real hard time, like you have to fiddle with it for a while to get it into four-wheel drive or out of four-wheel drive. So that's a clear sign that the red ball at the base of the fulcrum has disintegrated, and that's super common. It happens on every 98 to 2000. Prior to 98, the material was actually better. It was a white type of plastic and it lasts forever. So if you have like a 92 to 97, you likely never have to worry about this. There's something kind of cool when it comes to attention to detail. You can see that these handles, that's not the factory brown. That has been spray painted to match. We have replacement handles, A-pillar handles available, but they don't come in brown. They only come in gray. We haven't ever been able to get them in brown. And so what this guy did is he clearly bought the gray ones and painted them brown. So really cool that he did that. It just kind of shows you what we're talking about in terms of like someone that really cared about their Montero. And there's all these little things to work out, but you know, the point is they still definitely had a pride of ownership. You know, you don't have a vehicle that's this old with this many miles if people didn't love it. I'll show you something else, how he did the rooftop 10 here. Looks like, I don't know if that's like homemade bracketry, but it works. It's pretty cool. I don't really have, not rooftop tent, awning. I don't really have a need for the awning. I'll probably sell it and take it off. One less thing to worry about when this thing's parked outside and making wind noise and all that stuff, and I just won't use it. So if you want an awning, hit me up and I'll sell this one to you. So because of the tint and the black wheels and the black paint to begin with, it's not 100% murdered out, but this thing has been named Ninja because of how it looks, and it being Japanese, of course. And my kids call it Ninja Rain Cloud for some reason. So if you want to call it Ninja or Ninja Rain Cloud, be my guest. But that's it for this video. I hope you liked seeing the newest addition to the Luso Overland fleet, and there's pretty much nothing left to do except try and jump this thing so I can get home. All right, I'll see you in the next one, guys.